Hey there, welcome to Gnoggin. I'm your host, Loxton. Want to know something kinda creepy? So I was talking with my roommate and Noggineer assistant, Josh.
Josh, I need some footage of you. Look at me.
About video ideas. One of the main ones was, how fat is Pac Man? Like, he eats so much, so many pellets, so many ghosts, and so much fruit. But the hard thing is figuring out how many calories is in a pellet. So I wrote that idea down for later, knowing that I probably would never actually do it, because how do you determine the calories of a pellet? But then, the very next day, on my Discord server, link in the description by the way, a cool dude whom I've never met personally, but I have talked to on Discord before because he wanted to talk about Salem, Oregon, because that's where I recently moved to, and he happens to live here also. Anyway, he posted on the general chat this. I had a weird dream involving Loxton last night. He made a video on how many calories Pac Man ate on each level of the game. How he figured out the calorie count of a power pellet, I'll never know. I mean, that's weird, right? I've read up on a lot of pseudoscience stuff and for research before, but one of the big ones is always that the whole Earth has a consciousness of itself and we're all connected psychologically, and that's why we all have trends, because we all start thinking about a certain thing at around the same time. It's all persuasion, but subliminal, but even beyond subliminal, it's sub-subliminal, it's just, we're all connected, blah, 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 blah. It's weird pseudoscience, but dang! That is some coincidence. Maybe he's a spy. It has to be that, right? But anyway, because of this whole thing, I decided I'd actually go on and try to figure this one out. How many calories does Pac Man eat on your typical level? And speaking of pellets, I love these little pellets so much. They literally help me keep this channel running, both because of the energy that they give, it helps me focus on work all the better, and because they sponsor a lot of my videos. But seriously, 3 minutes is enough to keep you going for hours and hours, and with no calories and no crash at the end, unlike Pac Man. Maybe someday these will take the world by storm, just like Pac Man. Link is in the description. I'm gonna have one right now. Where are my mints? Where did I put them? They're somewhere. I can't do the promo video without them. I can't. No. So the real hard part is figuring out the pellets and power pellets calorie count. So let's just save that for last and start with the fruit. Pac Man eats all kinds of fruit. In level 1, he eats 2 cherries. In level 2, a strawberry. Then an orange in level 3, an apple in level 4, an entire melon in level 5, and then a Galaxian. You know, from the other Namco game. Galaxian. And then a bell! And a key. Should have eaten a kiwi. So for the sake of this video and plot? Maybe plot. Let's just assume that he collects those last 3 and only eats the fruit. Where are they? Well, fruit is a lot healthier than cake and other sweets that other famous video game eaters just chow down on all the time, so good on Pac Man, I guess, but fruit does have more calories than vegetables. But let's go through the specifics. Let's also assume that since Namco is a Japanese company, they were thinking of Japanese fruit when making the game. This would mean the cherries are prunus cherries, also known as the East Asian cherry. On average, these cherries have 6 calories, meaning Pac Man eats 12 calories here. A large strawberry contains about 9 calories. The orange Pac Man eats seems large, and being Japanese means it's probably a Hasaku orange, which can be a bit larger than a grapefruit. They tend to contain 72 calories. The melon Pac Man eats is similar in appearance to Japanese cantaloupe, the average of which has 182 calories. Where are they? I need my mints. Well, let's talk about the next big thing. Get them away from fruit and onwards to ghosts, because that's easy enough to figure out the calorie count for. Now, figuring out the amount of calories a ghost has seems like an impossibility, but, you know, Google tends to have an answer for everything. So I'll just Google it right now. Let's see. How many calories does a ghost have? And the first link, boom, 180. See? Reese's Ghosts, boom, done.
That was easy.
Now where are those mints? No, I kid. Realistically speaking, being an ethereal and possibly fourth-dimensional being, a ghost has 0 calories. There's even the term ghost calories in nutrition courses. It means calories that aren't there but are. It's weird, kind of like a ghost. And now for the moment that everyone has been waiting for. How many calories exactly are in a Pac Man pellet? What even is a Pac Man pellet? Is this a Pac Man pellet? What? Where did you come from? It's a catalyst mint. Well, thankfully, pellet isn't the only word they've gone by. Various versions of the game and various translations give them different names, such as simply dots or pack dots, but more interestingly, wafers and biscuits. In fact, even in the English version of Pac-Man on the Atari 2600, they are referred to as wafers. I mean, really, they are such generic little dots that you could call them almost anything and get away with it. So awesome, here we have a starting point. Wafers and biscuits, but the hard thing now is, wafers and biscuits are both kind of different things. And both are also generic. So let's do some narrowing down. This is a wafer, this is a wafer, these are wafers, even these are wafers. Is Pac-Man Catholic? And now these are biscuits, and this is a biscuit, and these are... Wait a second. Various European translations. European biscuits, not American ones. It's just like... It's like fries and chips. They mean different things in different places. A biscuit overseas is what Americans call... a cookie. Cookie wafers are a thing. Oh my word, Pac-Man is fat! So, wafer cookies are things like this. They are light, fluffy wafers with light cream on the inside. They can even be coated with chocolate, but Pac-Man's are a whitish yellow, so his aren't. These are usually cut into squares and rectangles, but they can be round, and they are often packaged with little butter cookies, also called butter biscuits, and when all packaged together are often called wafer cookie biscuits. There are even these Japanese wafers that, when localized for Americans, are called wafer cookies, or even just cookies. And when these same wafer cookies are localized for Europeans, they're called wafer biscuits. And again, considering Namco and Pac-Man are Japanese, these Japanese wafer biscuits are the most likely candidate. Light, golden brown, with a cream filling. But even then, there is so much variety and so many different types to choose from. We really need to narrow it down some more to get a specific calorie count. So, Pac-Man was released in 1980, meaning it was developed in the late 70s. So we're looking for round Japanese wafer biscuits that are yellowish and were popular in the late 1970s. Give me just a moment here, this actually took quite longer than you would expect. Okay, so... The Bourbon Company today is one of the biggest snack food companies in Japan. They started in 1924, but wouldn't really start growing big until after World War II. Then, throughout 1967 and 69, they decided to expand drastically. They opened a new office branch in Tokyo, new branches and factories in Osaka, Nagoya, Kobe, Yokohama, Maki, and more. And they set production to max. Their company began to grow in sales by about 3 billion yen per year, going from 5 billion in 1970 to 8 billion in 71, 11 billion in 72, 14 billion in 73, and in 1974 something interesting happened. They introduced Le Monde cookies, a type of European-style gourmet wafer biscuit that soon became immensely popular. These wafer cookies came in various shapes, both rectangles and rounded, and these cookies quickly became their best-selling item, jumping their sales that year to over 20 billion yen. And it didn't stop there. As word got out of these amazing little wafer biscuits, their sales in 1975 jumped up to 40 billion. And by the end of the 70s, they were a 56 billion yen company. And with all that money, they of course introduced even more snack foods, a few of which also work out as possibly being the inspirations for Pac Man's pellets. Heck, by the end of the 70s, the bourbon brand became a household name in Japan, kind of like Hostess in America. And today, they are still doing well with over 105 billion yen in sales. So while perhaps not these specific wafer cookies, it's safe to say that for the sake of this video, the pellets are based on these small treats. So how many calories do they have? Well, if we go with the basic round bourbon Le Monde biscuit, we're looking at 58 to 67 calories. And considering that snack foods in the past tend to have more calories than the more health-friendly snack foods today, let's go with the higher average of 65. Which is still not very much, all things considered. Wafer cookies tend to be on the lighter side. And even if we look at other similar cookies that were popular around the same time, like the bourbon Uji biscuits, we get similar results. Calories in the upper 50s today, so I think 60 to 65 is a good number to work with.
Come on, I gotta get you all home.
So, egad, if I ate those cookies the way I normally eat these Catalyst Gaming Mints, I would have a significantly higher calorie count, because these happen to be completely calorie-free. How many of those cookies does Pac Man eat? 244. Yes, 244 wafer biscuits. So, doing the math, that's 15,860 calories. I can't even picture that. For context, Michael Phelps, the world-class top-level human Olympic swimmer, eats 12,000 calories on his workout days. So theoretically, if Pac Man works out more than Michael Phelps, he could stay in shape. But all we really see him do is walk around and eat junk food. 12,000 calories per day also just so happens to be what Donna Simpson eats, and she's one of the fattest women in the world.
We've got Miss Pac Man right here, nice and round too. Just put a little bow on her. Perfect.
So I guess that explains the Pac Man shape, and adding in the fruits and even the larger power pellets, which are likely just larger wafer biscuits, is somewhat meaningless. You really just push that 1586 estimate into a clean 1600 estimate. Beautiful. Solid numbers. 3 zeros. For the sake of a round number, please, let's go with that. So, how many calories does Pac Man eat per level?
A rough estimate, about 16,000.
If each level is a day, then okay, that's feasible, but what if you continued playing? What if you beat the game? What then? Well, there are 255 complete levels, and level 256 has half of a screen and then a bit more, before the game crashes, perhaps because Pac Man began hallucinating and got knocked into a food coma. So 16,000 multiplied by 255 and then add the 124 dots the last level has, and this brings us to a beautiful 4,088,060 calories. For context, a bigger guy with very little exercise like myself, I probably eat around 1,000,000 calories per year. Well, per level, it's 16,000 calories, bada bing, bada blah. Oh, jeez. Oh, hey, it's Pac Man. No, over there. What? Pac Man, what are you doing? You can't just steal my Catalyst Gaming Mints with its powerful Siberian erythritol root ingredient. I need those.
I know. I'm sorry.
Why would you even do that?
I needed so much energy to run around Pac-Land, you know? I eat so many sugary wafers and sugary fruits just to get around, but it's destroying my health. I just needed a calorie-free way to get all of my daily energy needs. And 3 Catalyst Mints provides the same energy as an energy drink. And for a lot cheaper and 0 calories.
Well, Pac-Man, you could just order your own using the link in the description. Here, buddy, I'll even give you a discount code. Use the code Gnoggin when checking out, and you'll save.
Really?
Yeah, it's all yours, my friend. And now they even do international shipping so they can ship it right to Pac-Land.
Oh.
Please don't ever smile like that again. Frankly, it's very terrifying. Hello there. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. This one was pretty experimental in terms of video format and pacing and all that, so what do you think of it? Would you like to see more in this style? Let me know down below. And check out some of my other favorite videos right here. Until next time, please remember to never stop using that noggin. So much fruit. But the hard thing is figuring out how many calories is in a pellet. So I wrote that idea down for later, knowing that I probably would never actually do it, because how do you determine the calories of a pellet? But then, the very next day, on my Discord server, link in the description by the way, a cool dude whom I've never met personally, but I have talked to on Discord before because he wanted to talk about Salem, Oregon, because that's where I recently moved to, and he happens to live here also. Anyway, he posted on the general chat this. I had a weird dream involving Logston last night. He made a video on how many calories Pac Man ate on each level of the game. How he figured out the calorie count of a power pellet, I'll never know. I mean, that's weird, right? I've read up on a lot of pseudoscience stuff and for research before, but one of the big ones is always that the whole Earth has a consciousness of itself and we're all connected psychologically, and that's why we all have trends, because we all start thinking about a certain thing at around the same time. It's all persuasion, but subliminal, but even beyond subliminal. Hey there, welcome to Noggin. I'm your host, Logston. Wanna know something kinda creepy? So I was talking with my roommate and Noggineer assistant, Josh.
Josh, I need some footage of you. Look at me.
About video ideas. One of the main ones was, how fat is Pac Man? Like, he eats so much, so many pellets, so many ghosts, and so... But it's sub-subliminal, it's just, we're all connected, blah 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 blah. It's weird pseudoscience, but dang! That is some coincidence. Maybe he's a spy. It has to be that, right? But anyway, because of this whole thing, I decided I'd actually go on and try to figure this one out. How many calories does Pac Man eat on your typical